Here's everything you need to know about the Fibonacci levels report on edgeful.com. So here we're looking at YM in the New York session in the last 6 months. And what this report looks at is based on where price opens relative to yesterday's New York range Fibonacci, how often will it touch each of the levels? So now I'm going to show you exactly what this means. Now, pretty much, I think it's practically required for you to use the indicator for this. So we have a Fibonacci by sessions indicator. I think it's like practically mandatory to use it just to avoid any confusion. And the way to get access to these indicators is to go over here to the right side, put on, it says use your trading view, enter your trading view username. Mine is edgeful. You can find yours right here in your profile button. Mine is edgeful. You can see that right there. And then in your invite only, you're going to see these appear. This Fibonacci by sessions is the one that we're going to look at. So the way that this Fibonacci works is it's actually just plotting exclusively on the New York range. If the New York session is red, it's going to plot the 0 at the bottom and the 1 at the top. If the New York session is green, it's going to plot the 0 at the top and the 1 at the bottom. So what this report looks at, so you can see March 14th right over here. So if I go to March 14th, which is March 14th, 2025 on YM, you can see here, so now we're looking at 1 day. You can see that this New York session opened between the 0.5 and the 0.38, and that this session was red. The reason that this session is important is because it dictates obviously where each of these levels are. If the session is green, all these are going to be flipped upside down. So you can see that if I go to green and I click any of these, nothing is going to appear over here on the right because there was no day that opened. Obviously, we're looking at 1 day, so there should only be one result. You can see nothing is appearing except when I go to 0.5 and 0.38 because it opened, this New York session at 9:30 opened between these 2 points right here. Now, from here, now that we know where it opened, it's going to tell you how often it will touch each of the other fib levels. So you can see here today, it touched the 0.3 down here. It touched the 5, 0.6, 0.7, and the 1. So you can see all that right here. It touched the 5, it touched it touched the 0.3. You can see that right here, to the 5, to the 6, to the 7, and the 1. So it went all the way up here. It did not touch the 0.2 or the 0 within this session. So you can see it did not touch the 0 or the 0.2. Let's look at a different example right over here. So this is the 13th now. So let's go 1 day back. Wow, pretty crazy to open in the same area. But you can see here, it went open between 0.5 and 0.38, and you can see that this day was red. This day over here was red, so this is the one that we're going to focus on. It opened right over here. And then it went up to touch the 5, 3, 2, and 0. So you can see here, 5, 3, 2, and 0. So let's look at the last 6 months now. And what you can see is, let's just say you're looking at today's opening between the 0.6 and the 0.5. This is going to tell you how often price will reach each of these levels. You can see, obviously be very mindful of the total days, but you can see that, let's just say between 0.2 and 0, which would be right over here, that 90% of the time in the last 6 months, price has touched the 0.2. There's only 11 days, obviously, so you can look back further if you want. I don't really recommend going too far back, to be honest, but this is one of the ways where you can use this report. 1, to set targets, to say, I think that price is going to reach this point. And then 2, to also take reversals. If there's a low probability that price will reach to a certain area, then you can expect price to reverse before it gets there. Now, if you're looking at the London session, let's switch this over to London. You need to make sure that you go and you update your London range. So what I just did was I turned off my market sessions. That's why I have my own one on here. But if I go to the settings, you can see here, I'm switching to London. And I'm going to put on my London range, turn off New York. And now I have my London Fibonacci plotted. So let's look at this day. Let's look at this day right here. So let me zoom in a little bit. So again, what day is this? The 13th. I'm going to go to the 13th. And then we're looking at the London range. So you can see previous day is red. That's from the open to the close. And then you can see that price opened between the 0.2 and the 0. So it opened within this area, obviously, that opened right here. So now what you can see on this day was it only touched the 0.2 within the London range. So this is the range that we're talking about. It only retraced to this 0.2. It didn't touch the 0.3. It did not touch the 0. So that's where you can see this. I just want to show you guys in detail what this really looks like. There's obviously also the bi-weekday version, but this is the fib levels report. If you have any questions, reach out to our support down here. We'll answer you as soon as possible. If this was helpful, please subscribe to the YouTube. There's a ton of free information on there for traders. Thank you for watching.